what's the overall agenda of this group, and is everyone believing it's the same agenda? I believe that, if we could get a clear understanding of that, there'd be, I think, less confusion into where things should be going in what direction if everybody knew or had the same consensus. And then it wouldn't be just a place to come and, well, I don't like that and I don't like that, so nothing happens. Well, what's the overall agenda for everybody?
We came up with two main purposes. One was to create a more beautiful and harmonious Abbotsford in the areas that we're working. The hope is that it kind of grows from there. And the other thing is to give people who don't often get opportunities to feel like they're contributing and participating and being acknowledged for that contribution and participation in the community. And I've worked with so many counseling clients who really want to volunteer and in substance use field, who really want to volunteer and get involved. But the way they present, because of some of the experiences that they've had, often just gets them nixed from any opportunity.
I think, Carman, one thing that maybe is hard for new people coming in is to understand our constellation model. All the different work projects are called constellations, and anyone can propose a constellation. They can come to this group with a proposal. They may want to be involved with it. They may not want to be involved with it, but they present, and with it, there has to be budget considerations, so that's when we get into the numbers of people and whatnot that would be involved. And then it's up to the group, as the stewarding group, that's what this group is called, to make that decision. It's basically consensus, but if one person says no, then it stops. It doesn't mean the project's necessarily off the table forever.
So if somebody was to bring a constellation to the table here and say, okay, I propose this and I need to know everybody's feedback, it's going to roughly cost this, what does everybody feel about that? Like right now in this room, there's more people in this room today than there was last week and than there was the week before. So what is the consensus? And who is the deciding factor in the group? If half of them aren't here, do they, again, not to get to vote on it? And if they come in the next couple of weeks and all of a sudden there's this new constellation, I don't agree with it, does it shut it down again? Like, how does this, that's where I get confused.
This is Peggy. I don't know if this is talk, but that was a great question. Yeah.
That was Carman.
The thing that I was thinking as you were asking that question is part of the reason we've set it up the way that it is to require us to continue to talk until we actually come to something that we all agree on. And nothing happens if not. Now, the question you ask is like, well, yeah, the membership is loosey-goosey here. And at one point it was more clear, and then COVID happened, and then we were just happy to have anyone come, right?
All of you.
And we were really happy because there were fewer opportunities for people to get involved in the community when COVID hit. And so in some ways it was like, we want even more people to come here to get involved. And that has actually happened. Like we have Jim, who has his own constellation. Nick has his own constellation. Pete and Rob have their own constellations, which didn't exist before COVID. So in a way, it's a organic process that, in my mind, relies on us trusting each other. If we all agree that we don't know what we're doing and we don't know exactly how we're doing it, but these are what we're trying to accomplish, and we are going to trust each other, maybe we take the risk of doing it without some of the questions that you're asking being answered. Mm-hmm. A lot of times organizations come up with things because shit happens and they have to guard against it happening again. I don't even know if that's wise, right? Because every situation is different.
Mm-hmm. And I think that the word trust is really important, because I think we've come to a place where, at least us being part of these meetings through this time frame, is people are sort of trusting that when a process is happening, it's sort of for the greater good of all people who are involved with it.
I think too, if I could add something, Ms. Peggy, that it is the most human place I've ever worked with, and the most human group where humanity matters, where not just deadlines and that kind of stuff. Like, it's amazing what I've learned in this group. And I think everybody that's open-minded will do the same, because we're there for the people, not for the not for the bottom line.
Well said, Patty.
So maybe we can go into an example of this. Is there somebody who would want to kind of start us on the story of dealing with the end of the road? What we want to be mindful of when we talk about it, however, talking about it too much where people might know where it is.
One of the reasons why we are talking about a place without necessarily using names or landmarks that people can identify is that we don't end up displacing the people who are living around there. So a lot of times people see the garbage and they think, oh, that must be from the homeless people. And, right? And then they get blamed for it, and it's just, yeah, it's like everyone, well, most people in different groups throw things out on the streets. And it's not just one group, so you don't want to identify the land and that one group getting essentially evicted because there's nowhere else for them to go that's safe. It's like if they go into public places, they get stalked by security, they get stared at, they're not allowed in places if they have a backpack or any belongings on them. But if they don't bring those belongings, then they lose the only things that they have.
Pete, do you want to talk to that project, the end of the road, without saying where it is?
All the carts, yeah, there was quite a task digging all that out. But I did have help from the people that lived in the area there, so that made it easier. But most of the carts are gone now. It's just the flyer saying it's time to take a stand. That's what it was. So I took a stand. I did. But the people in the area are still cleaning, like, to this day, right? Unfortunately, Rob's spot is all grown over.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that eventually. Everything else is pretty much cleaned up, though.
But what about the creeks? You were inspired by seeing the salmon
salmon,
and the beavers and the contamination where the garbage was being placed, where it was affecting the nature, of course. And taking that stance and going in there, taking it upon yourself, like that was a huge step in the direction of being part of the change and not overlooking of the cycle of life without displacing people. And then yet trying to find how to move 20, 30 carts out of the creek, and then now it's on the land, and now whose responsibility is it? And then that's where the bureaucrats, where it becomes the problem. And it's like, how do we be solution focused without hurting ourselves or causing harm to ourselves or any more to the environment?
That flyer is what inspired a lot of people. Because I gave it to the lookout, and they gave out copies to the staff and people in the area. It's just word of mouth. It's good the way it happened, I guess.
Do you explain the problem solving? Because like you saw all the carts in the creek. How did you figure out how to get them out? And
My neighbor did. He's from Kilgard Reserve there, and he just said he had a fish gaff that you wouldn't even have to get wet, and it worked, right? So it was better than we were going to use a rope or try to get in there with those hip waders. Yeah, it was a lot easier. Yeah. He thought of it, so he helped me with the first creek part, and we did that in a day, 5 hours. But then it took another 4 hours to get it out of the creek, like out of the area there. Like if you go down there, you just see the creek. But then we just had it all off to the side, just took it all out of there for the first day.
And what were your tools?
Just a fish gaff.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
That's partially why I was somewhat surprised when I was brand new in this group. This was the first situation that I was a witness to was the cleaning up of this and seeing how the system worked in here, where they're like, well, you didn't get permission to do that. There wasn't a consensus, but however you did it, and we appreciate that.
One of the problems that we had with this group right from the beginning was what do we do about liability? I mean, we started as a really collaborative group involving a whole bunch of organizations in the community and the city and Fraser Health. And then as we were getting close to getting started, everyone was like, who's responsible if something awful happens? We actually had just kind of got started and we closed everything down once we realized we didn't have an answer to that question. And I thought, is this going to work? Because we're hiring homeless people to go pick up trash in the community. Who in their right mind would ensure that? Thankfully, we found someone who would. We still have to do our due diligence, of course, and in this situation, really, coming from the executive director of the organization that holds the insurance and the money and that is liable for everything that's happening, I had to say, we cannot go in there and take those out of there because I don't have any expertise on how to do that. I would have no idea what's safe about that. Same thing with the trash that had been decomposing there for a long time, big heaps of it, and we couldn't, because of COVID, we couldn't get any biohazard masks. And I think that's still a problem. There's still trash there, right? So we haven't solved that issue. But what happened is we created this sheet, which until right now, I didn't know that was a big, I thought I'd spent a whole bunch of time creating this sheet that we just did nothing with because it was problematic, because it mentioned where it was. But we handed it out to members, and Pete took it and handed it out to people, and that inspired people. And so I didn't know that was going to happen. I also didn't know that Pete would have a friend from the First Nation who is like, whoa, getting them out is no different from getting the things that we traditionally get out of a creek. We can do that very safely, right? With the right tool. You don't have to go in there, and they didn't go in there. There's no way I would have been able to to agree that we should go in there and do that if we didn't have a plan. They came up with a plan, did it. After the fact, then we had to kind of deal with, do we pay them for this? Because we don't want people kind of going rogue on things and doing things that are dangerous. And in fact, when he sent me the pictures the first time, that's what I wrote to him. I wrote, well, we may not be able to pay for this because we didn't approve it. And I certainly can't approve it, and I can't approve it after the fact if they did something dangerous, because that's just going to be an invitation to everyone else to go out and do dangerous things, and they'll get paid for it. But as we were meeting, and Pete talked about the story of what happened, we realized, oh, they did this really safely. There was no way to anticipate the knowledge that would come not from in this room, but outside of this room. If it wasn't for Pete's friend, nothing would have happened. I'm amazed with what happened. I was really feeling hopeless that we were spending so much time on something and to hear from Pete that people are keeping things clean there now is just amazing. Let's talk a bit about the work that we've done as BEAP, because there are not washrooms.
Just basically we've had to pick up feces. It's business doorways or walkways or loading docks, and customers have to walk past it, or we've had to pick it up. It's health issues. And it's unsanitary. Yes, it stinks.
I'm shy about doing this, but why can we not put porta potties out? Construction sites do.
We had a call recently that included folks from the Abbotsford Police Department. And one of the things that they said about the porta potties that are out there in the work sites, oftentimes what ends up happening is that security companies call the police and say, there's a break-in. The majority of the time, it's not someone going in there to break in and steal stuff. They just want to use the washroom.
Yeah, we try to get like porta potties and stuff to supply them for the street people, and it was a good idea, but it failed because of the fact that even though we put rig collection boxes inside the porta potty on the wall, people were still throwing them into the toilet part, and then that would clog the machine when the people would come by and suck the shit out of the machine, out of the toilets. So that was the big flaw, right? We even tried to supervise it, but it all comes down to, you know, one ignorant person, you know, screwing things up, and then we all have to pay for it, right? And everybody's always willing to just say, well, you know, one person did it, so you're all fucked. Instead of trying to take the effort and the energy to get that one person, they just punish us all. We even hired somebody to try and be there to scoop it out before. And I guess it's, you know, you can't, you know, it's toilet paper and shit and all that. Who wants to be up to your elbows? So that's why we failed, you know.
What I'm finding is that people are holding all this inside, trying to find a place that's safe, trying to find a place to, it's like, it's constant trauma. I'm just really grateful that we have a group that we can come to a place and knowing that this place might be just a couple hours a week, but they know that they can soak their feet, wash their face, have a coffee, have a meal, have some dialogue, and know that they fucking matter. Thanks. That's all I gotta say.
Peggy, do you want to say a little bit about the solutions that you found?
Absolutely. There's only 3 of them that I know of. Well, actually, they're around the world that make that happen, but they cost money and they need to be monitored. So the things that need to be addressed is, where can the bathroom go? What about monitoring the bathroom? Well, if we stop paying for everything that happens out here every bloody morning with bylaws, Paladin, and Recyclist. Like, I'm not kidding. I can barely hide myself in my house. I'm so angry at what happens. And it's very, anyway, if we changed that and took the money from what we pay people, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars a year, and we put it into a couple of washrooms that were made of steel and that were monitored even by one of us, not only would that create a 24-hour job for the people in BEAP or whoever could do that, but it would stop the lack of dignity, and there's a safety net there where after 10 minutes the lock pops open. You've got no more than 10 minutes in there, but we need it in a place that people say, not in my backyard. And I'm telling you, I was one of those people, and now I'm begging it to be in my backyard. It has to have the ability to change the way we think and what we do, instead of just paying someone to go do this and this every morning to upset the hell out of everybody on the street, and to drag those people. And if they don't go, get 6 police in here last week, 6 cars. And it's just so, I don't understand it. I don't understand how, after all this time, that still happens. It's like something it's worse in a third world country, because at least then they look after each other and they're all in the same boat. Whereas out here, they are targeted and damaged every single morning and then shit on for not getting off drugs. Like, are you serious? And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to lose it there.
Way to go, Peggy. I love you.
We love you, Peggy.
Thank you. I love you too, believe me.
You do see some of the beach showers. I know in other communities where there's rivers or lakes, they have showers where you can rinse off and jump into the lake. I know in Kelowna, when I was out there, that was my shower on a good day, you know. Also using the bathroom in a park, you know, be able as a woman to stay clean till services were opened.
For a while, I was homeless in the downtown east side, and there was a drop-in down there that I showered at daily, and it just kind of took me back, right, on the importance of like having proper showering facilities and places where people can use the washroom. I just thought to throw my 2 cents in that if it wasn't for that facility, the quality of my life down there, and like it gave me like I've heard the word dignity come up a whole bunch, right? it gave me back my dignity, and I just thought I'd throw my 2 cents in there that I think that's like super, super important. I don't know too much about I'm really super new to this group, and I don't know too much about Abbotsford because I've just kind of moved into this area over the last year. There is 3 shower stalls, and the temperature of the water was controlled in another room, but you pressed a button and the shower went on, and you had about 30 minutes in the shower. You go into the stall, they'd ask you if you wanted the stall locked or open, and then you'd have your shower. They supplied like little sample bottles of shampoo, soap. Sometimes they had shavers, sometimes they didn't, and you just do your thing. There was also 4 toilet stalls and 3 sinks. Along with a plug-in for if you wanted to bring a hair dryer. They sometimes they had donations, like clothing donations and stuff. It was for women who were working in the sex trade, and they also supplied 2 hot meals there a day. It just made such a huge difference in my life for many years.
They had a couple that were bringing a portable shower and had the 2 shower stalls in there. I mean, that's, quite a feasible thing for us to achieve too, right?
So, just kind of in addition to like having showers, is having somewhere where you can actually clean your clothes. I barely can cover my rent every month, so it's like, well, how do I wash my clothes now? And it's like, well, if you smell bad, it has like a really huge effect, especially because it doesn't just go away because it's always there. Like that scent is always there. And it's a constant reminder that you don't have that privilege. And like at the youth center Foundry, they have like a washing and drying machine, which is amazing. And it's like, I don't know, it's probably like the first time in a couple of years that I actually got to wash my blankets. Because usually I have to do it in the sink and hope they dry all right. And they're crusty and it's gross.
Being able to have a drop-in where there's laundry, food, showers, community, and also addressing health, right? And having like nurses on site, and having a dentist, and having place to get some clean clothes, having a one-stop shop. Like, I really believe that that's a necessity here in Abbotsford. Mm-hmm. And not having it spread out with little tidbits of like, oh, a meal down 100 blocks that way, and then a shower, 5 miles that way.
You want to tell the story about the rec center?
I got a call from MRC, and I went over there because there was a bunch of needles that they found on the tree. I picked it up, and then I talked to the manager, and then after that I just brought it up to BEAP. And you want to continue on with the rest of it?
Basically, it was a bit of a mess, and there was some rigs, and we just started doing it. It used to be 2 hours a week, twice a week for each rec center until we got caught up, and it's been an hour twice a week for each rec center now, just to maintain it and keep it clean. And we find that people who are in the area are now taking pride in the area around them, and it's getting cleaner, and neighbors are very appreciative, and the rec center is very appreciative, and it's a positive thing. It's been very good.
Have you guys been going to Valley Village, or you want to talk a bit about it?
It's amazing because we're hiring casual laborers, and everybody there is pitching in, and they're not even getting paid for it. And giving them some things that they need, and some water, and a little bit of pay, and they're taking pride. And now we're going regularly. I've told them we'll come every Wednesday, so they know to expect us. Yeah, we hire up to two casual laborers every week that we go there for 2 hours. You can just see the uplift. Gives them a few bucks to get some food or whatever they need. Makes them feel like they've earned it, and that they're part of the solution and not part of the problem. And it's hopefully creating relationships between them and the businesses too, seeing that they are doing their part.
Like how you've been reaching out to the different campers in the areas you've been
Actually, I have. I've been giving him a hard time for that. Like, can't you just at least pick that one piece up? Because everybody, if they just pick up one, you know, there's, like, I don't know how to explain it. But I've had a few people where they almost wanted to hit me. It's like, well, I'm only, like, just pick it up. But then I've always got friends around me anyway. Like, no, I'll pick it up. It'd be a good idea. I've got a few people already now picking up. But then there's still the new people coming out from Vancouver or whatever. And they don't know what's going on. They don't even know what this is until I show them. Oh, yeah. Oh, well, it makes it, oh, okay. It makes it easier for other homeless because then it doesn't look so bad. Like, I still don't know where they get all that garbage from. I've seen it like one day I pick it up. The next day I go through just curiosity. I was like, what the heck? I just picked that up. And it's everywhere. It's like, why do you do that? Like, big giant pile, and it's for somebody who has nothing. Where'd all that come from? And meanwhile, there's a garbage just right at the corner of the park, right over there. But other than that, just be careful and pick up whatever you can.
Why do you think it's important that you're the one who's doing it in the areas that you're doing it and not someone else? Like, an employee of impact, what's different about you doing it than, like, if Michelle were going to do what you're doing?
Well, some people you come into and it's like, some of them just downright can get pretty mean. So yeah, I guess if Michelle went and did it, it'd be more scary for her. Because once you're out there, like, everybody's got a blade or some kind of ugly stick. Yeah, someone heard that one. But yeah, like, I don't think there's anybody that I know that doesn't have something on them that's, including myself, I've always packed something. So you get somebody that's all, stoned on something. And as soon as you see that coming at you, like, now you know, it's like, okay, get ready. So yeah, it's for a girl doing, like, no offense, but like, you can get dangerous.
The three papers down.
Is that you, Nick? Yeah, he knows what I mean.
Personally, I think there should be greater efforts made by the business community to reduce some of the stigma instead of going out the torches and pitchforks, so to speak, when a homeless person comes by. Now, by having the people who are living in the thick of it get engaged, will provide a few things. One is the outlook that, we can make a difference. We can show that you can't paint us all with the same brush. Because there's so many people that live on the street who are disgusted by the way things deteriorate. But the way things deteriorate, it becomes like a catch-22. The more you put a person down, the more they're going to fight back. Or they're going to beat down so far that, the next step is suicide. Which I've also seen too much of. But if you empower a person, say, well, this is your community too. This is the way you want it looking,